Mr. President, I rise today to once again share the devastating story of the nationwide opioid epidemic that America currently faces, which are basically pain pills. And it's a crisis I've been dealing with since my days as governor of the great state of West Virginia. And each and every one of us, as senators representing our great states, are dealing with it also. It's ravaging my state. West Virginia has been hit harder than most states in our country. The drug overdose deaths have soared by more than 700% since 1999. Just last year, we lost 600 West Virginians alone to opiate abuse. That's prescription drug abuse. Let me explain what we're dealing with. We're dealing with basically a product that's manufactured legally by pharmaceutical companies, a product that's approved by the Food and Drug Administration, federal government, a product that's distributed and prescribed by our doctors, the most trusted people we have in our lives. And it goes on. And then basically, people don't understand and have not understood for the last 2 decades the devastating effect that it has. But our state's not unique. This is happening everywhere. 51 Americans die every day. Every day, 51 Americans. You have to think about that. Every 30 minutes or less, someone's dying because of a prescription drug overdose they got addicted to. Since 1999, we've lost almost 200,000 Americans to prescription opiate abuse, the pain pills as we know them. So we need a serious culture change in America to get to the root of the problem. We need to change the approval of all these new, more potent drugs coming on the market. We don't need them. We've got enough. The scope of the problem is this. In the United States of America, we have less than 5% of the world population. 7 billion people live on this beautiful planet Earth of ours. We have approximately 330 million. How in the world can we explain how 5% of the population consumes 80% of all the pain pills, opiates, addictive opiates that are produced in the world? This one country of ours is the most addictive country on earth. There's not another one like us. We allow pharmaceuticals to advertise on television. We're the only ones that allow a drug that we know is addictive and can be destroying people's lives to be advertised, so people are asking for it, going out and wanting you to buy something because its market is so slick. It's just wrong, just totally wrong how we approach this. So it needs to be an overhaul of our culture. Mr. President, my office continues to get flooded with letters. I'm going to read a letter today from my state of West Virginia and from your state of Georgia. And we're encouraging people to continue to share. The reason I'm encouraging people to share me the letters, for far too long, this has been a silent killer, Mr. President. People haven't talked about it. There's not a person that might be watching us, not a person in this chamber that doesn't know somebody in their immediate family or extended family that has been affected by drug abuse. Most of it legal prescription drug abuse. So you have an epidemic on your hand. We talk about Ebola and Zika and all the other things we're concerned about an epidemic. We don't have any of those that are killing 51 Americans a day. But we're still silent about it. Well, people are breaking their silence. They're sending me these letters, and I'm going to read them every week to put a personal touch to this epidemic that we face. And I don't want people to be ashamed. We all have it happen. Just because it might be your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your cousins, or your children. And we have to look basically at addiction as an illness. For far too long, Mr. President, we've looked at addiction as a crime. We put people away, put them in jail because they've committed a crime. Most of it is grand larceny because they had to steal to support their habit. They get a felony on their record. We put them in jail. They come back out. They're no better. They're still addicted. Now they have a felony and can't get a job. We've taken them out of a productive part of our society. We're losing a whole generation of productive, unbelievable, beautiful people, and we've got to fight this. Let me tell you Debbie's story from West Virginia. This is Debbie's story. She says, my daughter started using drugs off and on around the age of 13. It really escalated after her second child was born. Her husband, being from Baltimore, Maryland, with access to lots of different kinds of drugs. So she told me after the birth of her baby, the doctor prescribed her Percocet after vaginal birth. She started off snorting them, then injecting them. Her drug abuse spiraled out of control to using meth onto heroin and cocaine and who knows what else. Then she started buying Suboxone illegally, supposedly to get off the other drugs. Now, Suboxone is a drug that's supposed to help you get off of your addiction, but it's also an opiate. When she had her third child, CPS, which is Child Protection Services, stepped in. But then they walked away in 90 days. She took off to Baltimore, Maryland, putting her two youngest children in danger, leaving her oldest behind with us. However, we finally got her to bring the children back to us, but she wasn't willing to stay with her children. The drugs were more important than her three little children. They have more of a draw in a pool. We now have temporary guardianship, and she finally is taking steps in recovery. I don't understand why these doctors hand out opiate drugs like it's candy. I can tell you, Debbie, why they do it, because they don't have the training. They don't understand the effects that these drugs are having on people. And they're basically told whatever the manufacturers have told them, whatever a salesperson, and if the drug's allowed to be for a 30-day prescription, they give you 30. If it's for 60, they give you the maximum of 60. That's why they're being handed out like candy. She says, I have another daughter that was in a car accident and broke her leg. She had to have surgery, and the doctor prescribed her, listen to this, 80 Percocet all at one time. 80 at one time. Can you believe that? Already battling one child with addiction, I very closely monitored her medication. Not all people are strong-willed. This has to stop. These are dangerous drugs, and they lead to more dangerous drugs. These drugs are killing our children. They're pulling our families apart. Why are doctors prescribing so many at a time? Why do we have Suboxone, another addictive drug to treat addiction? Methadone is another one. Methadone clinics is the same thing. Why isn't Suboxone a care monitored drug? So it can't be sold on the streets. Why don't we have free treatment centers in every county to help with addiction so our children aren't dying? I'm going to talk about the treatment centers or a lack of treatment centers and what we can and what we should be doing as a country. My daughter is 24 years old with a lifetime of fighting addiction. My mom and sister had to bury their sons because of addiction. I don't want to bury my daughter. Now that's Debbie's story from West Virginia. Mr. President, this is Winnie's story from Augusta, Georgia. My name is Winnie Garrett. She wanted me to use her full name because she's not ashamed and she wants to fight this addiction and she needs help. I've been living in Augusta, Georgia for 15 years with my husband, son, and daughter. My daughter, Erin, is 21 and a heroin addict. She started using opiates when she was 16. She met a guy who was shooting pills and heroin, so in September of 2014, she started shooting too. She had a great job, an apartment, and was a highly functioning addict. In May, she asked if her boyfriend and she could come and move into our house so that they could save money and get an apartment together. In July, her boyfriend attempted suicide and was hospitalized and then sent to rehab. Erin's heroin use skyrocketed at that time. In September, we caught Erin and her friends in our house about to shoot up together, but we intervened. Erin agreed that she needed help, and she started methadone. There's the methadone clinics. So you have methadone and Suboxone. So she started the methadone clinic. In October of 2015, one of her friends that was in our house back in September overdosed and died at her grandmother's house. Erin started to abuse opiates again. In December, she lost her job. By Christmas, she had no new job and no money to pay for methadone. She was going downhill fast. On January the 2nd, 2016, she called me and asked me to come and get her. Her friends had left her alone. She had no phone and she was sick. My husband and I found her and told her she must go to the hospital as we were not prepared to help her go through withdrawal. We just didn't have the ability or the knowledge to do it. She fought with us and didn't want to go. As we drove closer to the hospital and stopped for a light, she jumped out of our moving vehicle and proceeded to walk away from us. We had to walk her into the hospital and commit her. After the hospital went through her belongings, she was civilly committed for a minimum of 72 hours. Erin went through withdrawal and was clean for about 2 weeks, but wouldn't consider going to a rehab place because she wouldn't want to leave her friends. She has relapsed, and I have tried to talk to her, but she is not ready for rehab. It breaks my heart to see my baby girl now. It has affected our entire family. Her brother wants nothing to do with her, and her father and I can only pray that God will look after her and keep her safe from harm. She is living on the streets and in anyone's house that will take her and her friends in for a day or two. My daughter graduated from Fine Arts Magnet School, was accepted to Savannah College of Art and Design, and Erin is smart, she's beautiful, and very capable when she is clean. I really don't even recognize my little girl on drugs now. Something must be done. Thank you for listening. These are people probably 3-4 years ago, Mr. President, wouldn't have wrote these letters to us. They're desperate. They need help. They're willing to put their names to it. They want to put a face to this epidemic. They really do. But let me tell you the problem we have, Mr. President. We do not have, you do not have in Georgia, we do not have in West Virginia, we don't have treatment centers. When people are begging for help, there's no place to send them. We've got day courts now and drug courts, but there's really no treatment center. And then they've got a felony on their record. And I'm not talking those with violent crimes. I'm not talking those sexual crimes. I'm talking basically larceny, grand larceny. They get a felony. If we do get them clean, they can't get a job with that felony. So there's some things we have to do. Let me tell you what we can do. The first thing that we can do is on the treatment centers. Think about this. We have a fee on cigarettes. We know cigarettes are dangerous for you. They've proven cigarettes are addictive and dangerous for your health. And you pay a fee, a tax, when you buy cigarettes. And most of the states use those taxes to go back to health, to their health clinics. You buy alcohol. We know alcohol is dangerous. Alcohol you shouldn't drink. But we partake in it, and they charge a tax. We have no way of funding or supporting the treatment centers. So I'm going to propose and ask all of my colleagues, we're looking and working on this every day, there should be a 1 penny per milligram, just 1 penny per milligram of every opiate produced by manufacturers paid into a treatment fee. Strictly cannot be used for anything except treatment centers throughout the United States of America to help the people that need help. We should also consider, how do we get people back into productive lifestyle? If they go through an approved treatment center, a program, and that's 1 year, let's say they go into a mentoring to where not only they become clean themselves, they're mentoring now for another year to help people become clean. They don't have a violent crime against them. They don't have a sexual crime against them, but they have a crime of larceny. Should that person not be considered basically from their good standings of finishing a 1-year rehabilitation program, which they've passed in flying colors, and they're clean, and another year they've committed their lives to at least giving back and trying to help other people through mentoring, and then be considered to have that basically expunged from their record as a felony so they can get back into the workforce? If not, we're losing a whole generation of quality workers. These are all bright, smart people that can do something and contribute back to the economy. Every week I'm going to be coming down here. I'm going to make sure that the people of America know you're not alone. We hear you, and we're going to do something. Mr. President, I thank you for listening, and I notice the absence of a quorum, Mr. President.